The simplest soul can touch God and live in the very presence of God and know His power. Human intellectuality doesn't assist you in knowing God. It's rather a detriment. You have to overcome the dangerous knowledge and pride that has been developed in your own soul before you become childlike enough to believe God like a little child does. Unless you're converted and become as little children, you will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Go up and down the line. Go to our greatest universities, our great hospitals, our great scientific establishments, and find a man that really knows God and exercises His power. No, sir, you can't. On the contrary, you find that these men are ones mostly affected with doubts. They are the prey of questions and doubts. What's the reason? Because of the fact that they have cold material knowledge. Men have become material in their nature. Their spiritual connection with God has deteriorated. The element that comes from heaven isn't there. The light of heaven hasn't shined in their soul. The radiation from God's heart isn't reaching them. What makes a real genius? It is the result of a soul that unconsciously goes out into God's great realm and discovers what's there. I had a preacher and friend who was very intelligent. He said one day, "Mr. Lake, while I sat there, something came down and stood there, and it was so visible and clear I made a drawing of it. It was a baby bed, different from anything produced before. So he's getting a patent for it. It came down while I was preaching. What's the secret? Simply, under the inspiration of the Spirit of God, His Spirit entered that creative realm and produced that thing. These signs will follow those that believe. In my name they will cast out devils. They will speak with new tongues. They'll take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it will not hurt them. They will lay hands on the sick, and they will recover." Those were to be the characteristics of Christians forever, no matter where or when they were. Now, anybody with reasonable intelligence sees that these are spiritual things. They aren't material things. You can't create them. No man in the natural can cast demons out of another. You can't manufacture a chemical that will cast a demon out. And yet, that's the thing that's going on in the medical world all the time. What do they do with an insane man? They give him bromide. Bromide has no effect on the spirit. It'll paralyze the nerves after a while, that's all. These things, Jesus said, were meant to be addressed spiritually. Now, the power that was to put these things into operation was to be the power of God. Jesus said, "All power is given to me. Therefore, you go and do these things. These signs will follow." Christianity wasn't to be just preaching, but demonstrating. Go and preach the gospel. Go and demonstrate it. People have a right to see. God is in the saving business. That is His business. It's a dreadful sadness when people don't know God intimately and well. They don't know what they're missing. People have little conception of what He is until you become in intimate touch with God and really know Him. I want to show you how spiritual power can accumulate and work together. Maybe you haven't learned to unite your souls together in believing faith and prayer on behalf of someone who needs a blessing. In 1912, I was pastor of the Apostolic Tabernacle in Johannesburg, South Africa. One of the cardinal teachings of our organization was the ministry of healing through faith in Jesus Christ, the Son of God. The sick were brought from all parts of the land, and thousands were healed through the prayer of faith and the laying on of hands by those who believed. Our church was then enjoying a great period of spiritual blessing and power. Various remarkable manifestations of the Spirit commonly occurred. At a Sunday morning service, a member of the congregation arose and requested that those present join in prayer on behalf of his cousin in Wales, which was 7,000 miles across the ocean from Johannesburg. He stated that the woman was violently insane and an inmate of an asylum in Wales, and he wanted prayer for her healing. I knelt on the platform to pray, and an unusual degree of the spirit of prayer came upon my soul, causing me to pray with fervor and power. The spirit of prayer fell upon the audience at the same time. Normally, people sat in their seats and bowed their heads while we were praying. But on this occasion, 100 or more in different parts of the house knelt to pray with me. I was praying out loud, and they were praying in silence. A great consciousness of the presence of God took possession of me. My spirit rose in a great consciousness of spiritual dominion, and I felt for the moment as if I were anointed by the Spirit of God to cast out demons. My inner or spiritual eyes opened, and I could see in the Spirit, and observed that there was a shaft of what seemed like light with a moving power coming from many of those who were praying in the audience. While they prayed, these shafts of light from those who were praying increased in number, and each of them reached my own soul, bringing an increasing impulse of spiritual power until I seemed nearly overcome by it. As this was happening, I continued in prayer with great force and conscious spiritual power. Suddenly, I seemed like I was out of my body, and to my surprise, I saw that I was rapidly passing over a city of Kimberley, 300 miles from Johannesburg. Then I saw the city of Cape Town on the coast, 1,000 miles away. Then the island of St. Helena, where Napoleon had been banished, and then the Cape Verde lighthouse on the coast of Spain. By this time, it seemed as if I were passing through the atmospheres, observing everything, but moving with great lightning-like speed. I remember the passage along the west coast of France, across the Bay of Biscay, into the hills of Wales. I'd never been in Wales. It was new country to me, and as I passed swiftly over its hills, I said to myself, these are like the hills of Wyoming along the North Dakota border. Suddenly, a village appeared that was nestled in a deep valley among the hills. Then I saw a public building that I recognized as the asylum. On the door, I noticed an old-fashioned 16th century knocker that I thought was made by one of the old smiths who manufactured armor. I was inside the institution without waiting for the doors to open, and then was at the side of a cot with a woman on it. Her wrists and ankles were strapped to the sides of the cot, with another over her legs and her chest to hold her down. She was shaking her head and speaking incoherently. I laid my hands on her head, and with great intensity commanded in the name of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, that the demon spirit possessing her be cast out, and that she be healed by the power of God. In a couple moments, I saw a change come to her face as it softened, and a look of intelligence appeared. Then her eyes opened, and she smiled up at me. I knew she was healed. I had no consciousness whatsoever of my return to South Africa, but instantly I was aware that I was still kneeling in prayer, and I was conscious of all the surrounding environment of my church and the service. 3 weeks later, my friend who made the request for his cousin brought me a letter from one of his relatives saying that an unusual thing had occurred. Their cousin, who'd been confined for 7 years in the asylum in Wales, had suddenly become well. They had no explanation for it. The doctor said it was just one of those unexplainable things that happen sometimes. She was perfectly well and returned home to her friends. You've wondered about Jesus and his relation to God, and you wonder how Jesus Christ could be the Son of God and be God. Supposing that part of me was over there in Wales and was able to take in all these things, had stayed there. Supposing it had decided to take on itself a body and remain in Wales. What relation would it be to me? It would be born out of my nature. It would be part of myself. I believe God gave me that experience to settle forever in my soul that question of Jesus Christ and his relation to God the Father. And Jesus, though being one with the Father, still maintained his own individuality. And it's no longer a problem to my soul. I want to tell you that Jesus Christ came out of the soul of God. And he came to the world and gave his blood for you and me. And when Jesus gave his blood for you and me, beloved, it was God that did it. To my soul, Jesus isn't the Son of God in that he's separate and detached from God. He is God. His blood was the life of the heart of God. It was God's manifestation of his divine affection for the world he'd created.